Welcome to Stay Paid, your number one sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals, keep more clients, and build the life of freedom you are working towards. But that can only happen if you're willing to take action today. My name is Josh Dyke, Chief Marketing Officer at Reminder Media, joined by Luke Akery, President of Reminder Media. And our guest today is Bill Pipes. Coach Pipes is one of the most respected and experienced coaches in real estate, having delivered over 100,000 coaching sessions, 50,000 hours of consulting, leading hundreds of seminars, reaching over 400,000 attendees. Bill has worked with the industry's top performers to drive productivity, scale profitability, and build winning cultures. Coach Pipes, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Luke, Josh, thank you so much for having me, guys. I've been looking forward to this since we connected. So thanks for having me on. And what's up, crew? All you guys that are listening and watching.
Man, I'm super excited to have you on, Coach Pipes. You're also a killer when it comes to sales, scripting, and sales in general. Want to pick your brain on that a little bit today. Would love to kind of dive right in. Right, you've been in the industry a long time. The industry feels like more than ever before in the last year, it is shifting like in a multitude of ways, right? So you have the shift that's happening from an actual like inventory and rates and all the pressure on the market, which is kind of normal in the cycles that happen in real estate. But then you have AI coming onto the scene and the shift in tech that's happening. Then you have the regulations coming in with all the commission lawsuits and, clear cooperation and everything that's happening there. What are you telling agents right now in your kind of ecosystem of what they need to focus on to be able to win in this type of setting?
So that is a big question, right?
Yeah, I figured I'd come out with the big guns right away, man. I was like, I got Coach Pipes on. I got to ask him the big question.
And so I'm going to start with I just got the chance couple last week on Tuesday, in fact, last Tuesday, to spend some time with one of my mentors, right? Mr. Mike Ferry. And, big props to Mike, who's 80 years old.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's the GOAT. He is the Michael Jordan of real estate coaching and training. And I was sitting in that room and there's about 1,500 people. So first and foremost, to fill a room with 1,500 people in today's post-COVID world is a pretty big accomplishment, right? And what I was amazed about is something that I teach is there is no market so big, so challenging, so daunting that fundamentals can't outpace it. You know what I mean? And even with the tech, and listen, we're highly tech enabled in terms of how it is that we coach and what it is that we want our clients to be able to do. But there still are fundamentals inside the business that I don't care if it's 2025 or if it's 2,225. Like you still need to have skills. And what I teach are three components, right? Three key things. There's three circles that all great real estate organizations, whether it's a solopreneur, whether it's a larger team, have to lean into. And they are number one circle is skills. That, sure, AI, and we have AI callers now for our organization that are making calls out, et cetera, right? And that's
you literally have AI making the calls right now?
Yeah, we're
sick. I've been trying to get to, I'm going to talk to Simple Talk AI this afternoon, literally at 5:00 this afternoon, because they will do AI calls on your behalf, like an SDR. But have you found it working? And sorry to chime in there. It's just, I feel like it's really practical. Have you found the AI calls to work?
So we're A/B testing this, right?
Okay.
And if many of you remember the old story of John Henry, right? And that you may or may not remember it from when you were a youth. And John Henry was, like this great guy that could actually build tunnels better, carve out through mountains tunnels better than anyone else. And then here comes a steam locomotive, and it's John Henry versus the steam locomotive. It's a lot of what we're doing and testing right now, because we have our traditional SDRs or our ISAs that are making calls. And we're also seeing, okay, well, how does the AI with a company called Hex that we actually use, how's it performing in comparison to what's going to win, man or machine? Well, right now it's man and machine. So, our AI is generating 2 to 5 appointments per day right now for our, for coaching. And our traditional team is doing about the same. Right. And
get out of here. Do you know, if you're willing to share like the difference in like conversion? Is the AI converting less, but being able to call more because it's AI versus the human converts more, but they can't call as many?
So we started this about 30 days ago, right? And
okay, yeah.
If you look at like, at least in our space, and really I do the same thing that real estate agents do for my company, right? I mean, so I'm running in essence a brokerage. My brokerage is called a coaching company because I'm acquiring people and recruiting them over to be part of what it is that we do and to be able to support them and help their business grow. And that's what any great broker or brokerage should be able to do. So for us, though, it's about a 30-day lag for us to see true conversion numbers because a coaching sale takes about 30 days, right? Okay. Or acquisition of a new client. What I can tell you is our show rate is almost identical. And that's a lead
Wow.
indicator, right? So our
Yeah.
show rate is identical. I think we're going to see based upon that. And from what I'm getting qualitative from my closers and from the people that are actually talking to, having the appointments and holding the appointments, the quality and the caliber of the appointments are equal to, if not greater than, what we're seeing from human beings, right? Now,
That
and
is insane, man.
it
Yeah,
really
that
it blew me away. I was talking to my fiance just last night about this, and I'm like, I'm not sure who's going to win, man or
yeah.
machine. Machine or well, if it
That's awesome.
works, then why don't you get more of them? I go, we don't need more of them. We just need to because we pay $1.70 per minute, right?
Yeah.
For-
Okay.
And so it's just a matter of turning that knob. So, and obviously, here's the wonderful thing: the AI is going to get smarter faster than a human being is. Right?
Correct. Yep.
And so,
That's 100%. So get back to I guess the circles then. So sorry to interrupt you there. So number one was skill.
number one is skills. You cannot devalue no matter how much technology is coming in. The ability that a great salesperson inside the space of real estate has to be able to have effective conversations, know what to say, know how to say it, handle objections, right? Because technology, whether it be AI or anything similar to it, it's going to help us get more at bats. But ultimately, AI is not going to go on a listing presentation for you, all right? It's not going to do a buyer consultation. It's not going to show property, right? There's going to be that human interaction and that rapport that only human beings can create between each other. Right? You know what I mean? At least for now. Who knows what it's like?
Yeah, for now. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I would say probably in the next 10 years. It's pretty safe.
Yeah. And so we still push that, you need to role play every single day for 15 to 20 minutes. However, now if you look at it from a tech base, because I think a lot of what people are looking at right now is how is this new technology that's moving so fast? And we are partnered with a company called Angel AI as well, too. Now, the gentleman's name is Pavan Agarwal, which is a very intuitive finance-based fintech type of AI that allows financing to be able to take place and underwriting to be able to happen in seconds. And so they also have what's called the Angel Twin, right? And the Angel Twin is actually a twin of yourself that is an avatar that can actually answer questions for your clients at, when you're not available, and they can do it 24/7. So there's gentleman by the name of Bill Inman and Pavan Agarwal are the partners on that. We have a Coach Pipes AI, right? And so where our clients have an ability to be able to go in and talk to me at any given time, right? And it's, answer questions, et cetera, right? So, but I look at tech itself, like let's say role play, okay? Ylopo, who is another one of our great partners, Ylopo has a company underneath its umbrella called Maverick. Maverick has a built-in role play, and so it isn't that all of a sudden Maverick is saying you don't need because of this technology to role play. It actually says, hey, here's a technology. It's a role play partner that shows up every single day, is never tired, is going to give you accurate feedback, is going to tell you what percent. It's speeding up the process that the human element was delaying at this point. Right. So, but eventually, like you still got to have skills. You still got to know your listing presentation. You still got to have a very effective buyer consultation. You need to know how to show property effectively. You need to be able to elicit and uncover needs and wants and desires and fears of clients. That doesn't go away. Right. In fact, what I think it does, what the tech does and what AI is doing is it's forcing us to be better at that quicker. Right.
Agree.
When we get someone, we get a human that is like a client, a buyer, a seller that's over to us, that's vetted out through tech, and whether that tech is AI inside of FUB or Sierra or whatever, or like that person now, like you got this at bat, you know what I mean? And you better make it count. And how you make it count is with an effective conversation. So number one is skills. Number two is what I call standards, right? And again, the average client that I have right now we've got over 400 clients, actually right at knocking on the door of 400 clients inside of our organization. My personal clients are all in a range of about 3.3 to 3.7 million. So I'm working with top team leads and individuals along those lines, but it still doesn't change these three for themselves or for their team. The second is standards, right? And so what we teach is that and standards are disciplines, they're rituals, and they're routines that are based upon your goal which is important to understand, and they're a non-negotiable, right? And so standards, like the standard that someone has if I'm selling 12 homes is going to be uniquely different than the standard I have at selling 75 homes per year, serving 75 clients. It's going to be a little bit tighter rein that you actually have. But so we teach what's called an AMPR, a AMBR, a PMPR, and a PMBR and a PMPR. What that stands for is we segment the day off into 4 commitments. Your AMPR is your morning personal routine. Everyone that's part of G3, which is our corporation, our coaching company, stands for grit, which is what people have to have in order to be able to succeed, ability to stick to something for a long period of time in the face of adversity, right?
Agree.
Grin, which means you've got to be optimistic, smiling, grateful for what it is that you even get the chance to do this, right? And then grow. It used to be grind, used to be grit, grin, grind, but we got rid of the grind because it sounded like it never ends, which it never does, right? So, but if you do the grit and you do the optimism, you're going to grow. Your business is going to grow, and you're going to grow personally. But so every single person has an AN morning routine that we teach. It's called the 1800, right? Which is about 6 commitments, right? To get them up, get them going, get their mind in the right space, and to get them like in a warrior mode for the day. AMBR is their business routine, which is show up same time every single day in an office. We highly encourage that. And if you don't have an office, then you need to actually create the space for that. Like when you walk into your space, like
Your go time.
it's freaking go time. You still suit up, you boot up, you brush your teeth, you shave, right? You shower. You don't just roll out of bed and put on your sweats and say, "Hey, here I go." That's not how a CEO runs their business, right? And then we have what's called the and by the way, part of that morning business routine is I show up, I spend a specified amount of time working on my skills and warming myself up. And then you got to spend 2 hours per day following up on leads or prospecting for new business, right?
Yes.
There is no substitute for that real estate is a contact sport, period. And I still believe.
How do you deal with the excuse that all the agents make that it's like, I can't do my prospecting because I had a client reach out and I had to take care of this task or something came up, right? Because that's the pain point I hear. And they're not trying to be lazy. There's the true things that come up and then they miss their prospecting. It's kind of the eat the frog concept that I share with people. Like you got to do it in the morning because you're not going to do it in the afternoon. Well, how do you deal with that when you're coaching the people?
Well, I think number one, it's creating an appropriate expectation with the client right at the very beginning of the relationship and being able to actually let them know, listen, if you reach out to me between the hours of 9 and 11, I'm in a standing appointment. And that standing appointment is me looking for buyers to be able to purchase your home or me finding properties for you to be able to actually
I
purchase.
love that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it
And
even
so
makes it about value to them.
you got it. And I'll change my voicemail. My voicemail will say, hey, you reached the office of Bill Pikes with Banana Real Estate. If you're calling between the hours of 9 and 11, you're going to get my voicemail. However, I do return calls from 11 o'clock to 11:30. If this is something that's urgent or pressing, please contact my assistant at 555-1212, right? Otherwise, I'll look forward to talking to you at that time. So you got to set an appropriate expectation. Another thing, it's a mindset shift as well, too. The reason that people are, and I hate to say this, and I don't want to devalue our industry or who we are, but we're not freaking Elon Musk and sitting on a launch pad waiting for a rocket to go up. And if we do something wrong, the whole freaking rocket's going to blow up, or a brain surgeon that has a client or a cardiologist that has a client patient on the table and we're doing surgery. That's just not the world that we operate inside of, even though we treat it that way. And I've always said there's nothing so urgent that 2 hours is going to make or break it. And if it falls apart, it would have fallen apart most likely if you would have taken it.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
And I always teach people this. I teach them, when you lead generate, you no longer have to tolerate. It's a little phrase that I actually have. And what that means is if I can get in a habit and a ritual of 2 hours a day, I encourage people to prospect, not just to follow up. And when you hear prospecting, I think it's important that people understand that I'm not talking cold calling, right? I don't have anyone in our organization that cold calls. There's too many other opportunities that are out there. Of course, you can call around listings and you can call around sales and you can door knock and you can do things along those lines, but that's not cold, right? But if you do 2 hours a day, right? And I've done the math, reverse engineered it, even with the conversion numbers, like very conservative conversion numbers. You do 2 hours a day consistently, 200 to 220 days a year, you're going to sell anywhere from 16 to 30 homes per year, like conservatively.
Mm.
And you get to pick and choose your clients. That's why I love prospecting, is because otherwise, if I'm not disciplined, right? The discipline give me options give me choices give me freedom. That freedom is I get to choose who I'm going to work with. And if the jerk or the jerkette comes along and they're abrasive or obtuse or they're challenging, then I can walk away from that in an elegant manner that still honors them, but also allows me to maintain standards that I have in my life as well too. I'll
That's
never
so
have
good.
I don't have the discipline, right? And so that's for me probably one of the most important parts of having that morning ritual, that AMBR, is I want choice. You know what I mean? I want my clients to have choice. I want them to work with people that inspire them, and I want those clients to be inspired about working with that agent as well too. And that's why we make the calls. And that's why we market as well too, to be able to find our avatar, our match that sees the value in us. So then you have the AM or the PMBR, which is a planning business ritual that's about 5 or 6 steps. And then one of the most key parts of this entire standard of how you run your day is going to be your PM personal routine. I found that that's probably one of the most important times of the day for any type of C-suite salesperson, whatever. Because I know for myself, I stay up late, I eat like shit, I watch a horror. I love my horror movies.
Stop judging me, man. Stop. You're coming at me right now. No,
But
it's same, man. Same.
if I screw that up and I'm scrolling and doing whatever, it's going to screw me up the next morning. I'm not going to get enough sleep. I'm probably going to kick off my day by not following my morning ritual. I'm going to sleep in, right? And then it's going to make it's a ongoing process where it really starts the night before. I love what Sun Tzu, if you get the chance, guys, if
Mm.
ever read the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu, it
Right.
used to be taught in business schools back in the 80s and the 90s, and I'm dating myself now at this point, right? But he says he was a military strategist that really studied the generals, right? And said, he's like the Napoleon Hill of Chinese generals. And he said, every battle is won before it's fought. Every battle is won before it's fought.
So
Maybe
true.
in real estate, every day is determined in a level of effectiveness based upon what you did the night before, prior to, right? Were you in bed on time? I know I sound like a dad, right? Because I am. Were you in bed on time? Did you put on your blue blocker glasses? Did you stop scrolling? Did you read? Did you meditate? These are all the things that we teach so that you're primed, get a good night's sleep, and you wake up the next morning, you're like, freaking man, it's go time. Let's attack. And that's what I want for everyone is I want them to have that feeling of, okay, cool. I'm grateful, but I'm going to attack this day, man. It's game on. I'm going to win the first battle. I'm going to get my ass out of bed. I'm going to do that I need to do. And I'm going to build up that momentum in the morning. So the third is,
That's so good.
yeah, the third. So we go skills, standards, right? And then the last is strategy. Okay. And strategy is technology, people, AI now, right? And processes to drive efficiency and effectiveness. So you look at, and that's marketing is inside of strategy. And I think one of the biggest, and you guys would probably speak to this better than I can, agents, the biggest mistake you have is you're not strategic with your marketing. You do it whenever it is that you don't have business, right? And go, I need to send something to my past clients in Sphere, or I need to blast out an email to all my leads, because rather than being effective and systemic in the process, what you're putting out on social media, how many posts are you putting out? What is the content? Are you delivering value? What's your email marketing campaigns? What events are you throwing throughout the course of the year for your past clients, giving you an excuse to be able to actually reach out to them? So people, processes, technology, right? To be able to drive efficiency, which means I get more output, and effectiveness, meaning I can drive a greater return on what it is that
Jeez.
I'm investing in.
So good. Everybody just needs to rewind and listen to that, because that is, I mean, we've lived it now with Acre Brothers. And I've seen it over the years. What we've probably helped, 160,000 agents at this point in
Yeah.
time.
Right.
And then you just go, like, that is the pain point. Ultimately, you could summarize it as like, they don't treat their business as a business. And so therefore they don't put in structures, whether it's structures of schedule, structures in terms of how they treat clients, structures in how they do their marketing. They just treat it very reactive. It's
So
very reactive. And if you could, I mean, just rewind people and listen to what Coach Pipes just said. I mean, it is a master class on doing that. And we've seen that and lived that at Acre Brothers. And it's funny how you say, 16 to 32 deals, because we find like we require 24 deals a year. out of each agent on the team, or you can't be on the team. And we basically guaranteed to them, if you do like these 2 hours of prospecting every day, both in Sphere and reaching new people, you will get there. It's like almost like the law of averages. You can't not get there. But here's the killer, right? And I can think of agents that I've worked with. They want it. They are showing up and saying, hey, I want that. But then they don't do it. And it's like, I'm trying to bridge the gap. I don't know if it's a miswiring in the brain. Like, it's like, they literally are like, I don't want to, like, I'm giving a bad analogy here, but it's like, I don't want to be fat anymore. I want to be on the diet, but then they still go out and eat the donut. And how do you get the agent?
Donuts are good.
Yeah, exactly. How do you inspire somebody? Like, what is it? They have the head knowledge. They want it as a desire. It's like their why even says, yeah, here's my why. This is what I wanted. But they can't seem to bridge the head knowledge to the heart knowledge to create the action. Have you, I mean, obviously you've experienced that with agents. What do you do in this situation?
So I'm so excited you just brought this up, because it really is something that's near and dear to my heart. Personally, for myself, I mean, I look at myself as the biggest petri dish on the planet. Like, I am constantly testing on myself, right? And then I will roll it over to a beta test group that I have inside our organization before I roll it out. That's something that's really important to me. Is I don't teach anything that is not vetted, tested, and proven in multiple different markets with other individuals, right? And integrity is one of our core values at G3, right? And that's an integrity piece for me. So there's a couple of answers to that question, because a lot of people go, just get your why, right? I'm like, that's a bunch of bull. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was that easy, then everyone would be earning $1 million, which, by the way, is why I created this company in the first place, is because I believed, and I was having a conversation with one of my old partners, and I said, dude, like, we should run our business. And this was a substantial word. You and I met, like we met there. And I said to him, we need to build our model around every agent getting to 7 figures. And he said to me, he goes, Bill, that'll alienate too much of the population. And I said, well, if we're for everyone, we're for no one. And so that was the beginning of the breakup of that long time, almost a decade long relationship. And I still have gratitude for every organization that I've been part of, whether it was, Mike Ferry or Tom Ferry, or working with Gary Keller, or even John Cheplack. I've had the privilege of being with the best of the best and learning from them. So, when I built this organization, I said, I want to have this generate 1,000 7-figure earners inside the space of real estate. 1,000, right? And I said, people say, when will you stop? I said, I won't stop until we actually get to that point. We're at 1,000. We're at 57 right now. We're at 57 millionaires that were generated over the course of the last couple of years.
Man.
So damn proud of that. Next to my kids and my relationship, that's the thing that I'm the most proud of. Right. But for myself, in running this organization, keep in mind, I was coming out of organizations where I was number 2. I was the number 2 person. Right. And I love that number 2 position, and I played it really well. Right. But like, moving into a role where I'm running my own organization, the reason that people don't make the change is this: because they have an identity of themselves from the past, and they haven't built an identity of who they're becoming in the future. And that's really important. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me dig into that. I went to Mexico. I love Mexico. Went down to Puerto Vallarta, right? Had a fun time. The woman that I went down there with, when we got back, she was like, that was cool. That was fun. This is someone that I was in a relationship with at the time. And she goes, and the way that and I wasn't stupid. I wasn't an idiot, but I definitely wasn't my highest version of self. Mexico as a way of bringing out some fun characteristics of us that are incongruent in some ways. And she said, when you're ready to be the man that I know that you are, then we can get back together, but we're done. And I was like, I'd love to tell you, Luke, Josh, that I was like zenned out. I'm like, oh, thank you, oh Yoda, for the great lesson. But I wasn't. I'm like, what a witch, right? And, I was pissed. In about 72 hours. And that's one of the things that I think, if you're going to be able to succeed in life, then you've got to take the feedback that the universe is giving you in an open and accepting format to be able to actually look at what I need to change. And so what happened was, I sat down and I said, she's right. And if I was already my company to get to $1,000 million earners, needs to be generating $25 million a year, right? I reverse engineered how many clients that we need and what the annual revenue would actually be. And so then I said, okay, cool. So if I already was running that company, who would I be? What would how would I walk? What would I talk? What would my rituals? What would my routines be? How would I work with my staff? What would the relationships be with my kids? What would I be doing? What would I be eating? I mean, I sat down and for literally 2 weeks, guys, I just wrote down 25 mil bill, 25 mil bill. Who is he? Who is he? Who is? And then I created this as an avatar for myself. And then I went into Chat GPT after I created the avatar and I had about 17 to 18 characteristics, behaviors, and traits. I said, okay, great. What would this create these as affirmations? Then I started affirming it every single morning. So I would now wake up in the morning and I look at, okay, I acquaint myself with 25 mil bill, right? New identity. I do the affirmations and affirm that's who I am. I have a schedule that I follow that is 25 mil bills. There is a new version of me that I like is pulling me forward, right? That demands or gives me an opportunity for choice. The reason that most people don't make that switch over is because of the conditioning. Harvard Medical School said that 92% of the actions that human beings take are a conditioned response, meaning they came from our past, right? Our friends, our families, television, TikTok, YouTube.
How many you said? 92?
92% conditioned response.
Not
Crazy?
conscious, purposeful responses.
Not conscious, purposeful, designed. And so that past is constantly pulling people back, right? So they have this goal of, I want to make 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, even $1 million, but their conditioning is working against them. So when you take the time to create the avatar, I call it the 7-figure, your $1 million avatar, right? And you look at it, it isn't just an exercise. And a lot of times these things that we hear on great podcasts like this or at events and seminars, right? Or we're in masterminds, they're exercises we do, but they're not tools that we use. It's a big distinction, right? An exercise is something I do once and it goes in a file someplace and, oh, that was really cool and awesome and I loved it. And it doesn't change me because it takes about 60, 70, 80, 90 days, 67 days, according to the University of London, for a new behavior or belief to be created, right? So if you create that avatar, and I can send this over to you guys, you can send it out to everyone or they can reach out to me. But I created an entire ebook on this process of what you need to do. Now, what my clients do is every morning, just like me, they're reviewing that avatar and they're choosing. It's a choice. Am I going to let my 92% conditioning run me today? Or am I going to actually align with this future version of self, right? And visualize him or her and see this person acting the way. Now, what's really cool too, is this becomes a litmus test for me and for anyone for actions that they're going to take in their life. So like I have a daughter, she's 16 years old. She's amazing. I love her and she drives me crazy. Right? She's throwing parties at my house. Rolex has gotten stolen. Like all has happened.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, really? Like, really? So there's like old version of me that's going to be pissed off at her, yell, yeah, I could be upset. But I will ask myself a question as a father. I say, what would 25 mil bill do right now? When I'm leading my team, what would 25 mil bill? How would, and so I now have this board of directors or this general manager that I refer to that is an avatar that helps me in making decisions, right? Versus the past pushing you forward. Does that make sense, guys?
It makes so much sense. And it's what I love about it too, in the sense of you're not telling yourself the affirmations as if it is going to necessarily give you the confidence to go attack that problem, because that's where the I think people struggle with affirmations, or at least I have. It's like looking at yourself and saying you're a champion. Instead, what I think it is it's basically what you focus on expands. What you think about, you act upon. And so it's not a fake confidence that you're giving yourself with these affirmations. What it is it's a reflection point of going, hey, every day I'm going to actually think about this. It's almost like you could apply it to, hey, you want a better marriage? Write down what a good marriage looks like and refer to it every single day, not because it's going to magically happen to you, but because you'll actually think about it. And most of the things you're saying, you don't ever think about.
Yeah.
Like you just never actually go through life intentionally. And Josh we talk about this all the time. It's just like people just go through life so unintentionally. Like oh my gosh, man, they do not think about why they're doing what they're doing, what they're doing. And both of us grew up in religious homes, right? I'm a person of faith. I believe in Jesus and all that stuff. But it was shocking to me how many people believed but had no idea why they actually believe in what they believe. And that was one of my big moments in life at like 16, 17 years old. I was like, I don't believe this anymore. I had to actually go out and, like the normal process of going and looking at all these different religions and looking at and forming for myself, this is why I believe what I believe. But it's just, that is just an example of what happens to people is they don't even know why they believe what they believe. They don't know why they do what they do, and they never go to it and face it.
So it's so what you experience, brother, it's called an identity shift, right? And that's what most human beings don't have is they never have that identity shift, whether it's identity shift in a relationship to be a better spouse or significant other or parent. Identity shift is becoming like I watch great real estate agents never make that bridge that gap to becoming incredible leaders because they don't have that identity shift from salesperson over to leader, right? And most people don't cross over an income level because of the conditioning that they have from their past, and their identity never shifts, right? And I was sitting with Pavan, who is, I call him my GBI. He's my genius billionaire investor in our organization, right? And I get to turn to him, and I brought him into the organization not for the capital, although the capital is great, to be able to actually, I'm very
At
grateful.
least you're honest there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that net, to be able to actually make some decisions. And he's always been really good because we'll make a mistake and we'll lose money on an event or something will happen. We'll go, great. Did you learn something? Did you move forward? Like you're learning. But the main thing he said to me, and this is so important, he said, Bill, the biggest challenge that your group is going to have in earning $1 million, which guys, I just want you to realize you're 3 years away, some of you 2 years away, that if you really buckled down, really got disciplined, built your skills, got strategic in your approach, and followed a system, you could earn 7 figures. And it isn't just about 7 figures, because I've always said this, the purpose of a 7-figure business is to fund your 7-figure life. Like I want my people to have 7-figure health. I'm not like whatever the dude is, bald guy. Gosh, I can't remember.
David Goggins.
No, I love David.
Yeah.
It's the he's a sales trainer. Oh my gosh, I can't.
Oh, Andy Elliott. Yeah, Andy Elliott. Yeah.
What an Andy Elliott like.
Let's see your 6-pack, Bill. We got to see the 6-pack, man, or we can't talk to you with Andy. No.
That's right. Sorry, you can't be in our organization. I'm not that, but I want you to be healthy. Again, I want you to be vibrant. I want you to have the energy. I want you to have great relationships. And all of that is interdependent in terms of your business as well, too, because if you're not earning the income, then it's going to put stress on you for your relationships. You're probably going to
true.
Shit. You know what I mean? You're not going to take the time to be spiritually grounded, to meditate, to pray, to do whatever, to take time for church and build a relationship with other higher source. I want people to have it freaking all, period.
Agree.
I want them to have a 7-figure life. So Pavan said to me, he goes, Bill, the challenge that most people have in crossing that 7-figure mark in their business is they've never been around other 7-figure earners. And since they've never been around other 7-figure earners, it's like walking on the moon. Mm-hmm. So and what you guys do, I think is so valuable is bringing these individuals in to be able to create exposure. So, and he went on to say, and this is where this whole identity thing came in. If the identity never shifts, the income doesn't move at the level that you want it to, and your life doesn't change. And so that's why that 7-figure avatar is so critical in getting someone who hasn't done something to be able to do it, right? I think the other piece is this, having someone outside. Gary Keller said this to me, and you'll hear me quote a lot of these other individuals. Why? Because I am a conglomerate of all the great ideas of the wonderful men and women that I've had the chance and the privilege and the honor to humbly be around and learn from. And Mike Ferry said it to me. He goes, Pikes, you were smart enough to show up into my life, be stupid enough to do what I'm telling you to do. And I remember that. And I'm like, yes, sir. Right. But
that's powerful.
Keller said to me, he goes, Bill, any human being needs 2 people to believe in themselves in order to be able to move forward. Number 1 is themselves. And number 2 is an outside individual that tells them they can keep going or gives them support or helps them through it during those challenging times. And I can look, and whether that was Mike Ferry, whether it was Tom Ferry, whether it was Gary Keller, whether it was John Cheplack. I remember John, what amazing. And this, guys, you need that person. And that person is probably not going to be your spouse. And it's probably not going to be like someone that's close to you. It's going to be someone that's down the path a little bit further than you are, that can look back and say, I've been there, I've done it. And oh, by the way, you're going to make it through. And here's a way not to step in the dog crap that's right in front of you that's coming up right now. But when I left my 2 organizations ago, before I started G3, I really had, to be honest, I had some doubt, you know what I mean? Can I really do this? And oh my gosh, I'm gonna start. And Chep was really good because, and big shout out to John Chep Black. And you know, like he's a polarizing figure, like many great individuals are, right?
Yep.
But at the core of who he is probably one of the biggest hearts of anyone I've ever met. And he kept telling me, "You're the number one sales trainer in the world. You're the number one sales trainer in the
Mm.
world. You're the number one sales trainer in the world. Hey, do you realize who you are? You didn't but this is the number one sales trainer in the world." Guess what happened? That belief on those days where I'm like, this entire thing up, excuse my language, right?
Yeah.
I'm totally screwing the pooch on this. He's like, just remember who you are. You're the number one sales trainer in the world. That secondary person on those days that you doubt is so critical to keep you going and keep you moving. But he also held me to a high standard. I think that's the
Mm.
third. So number one is you've got to have an identity shift. Number two, you've got to have a tribe or people around you that are reminding you of your greatness, cheering you on, and also holding you, you know, to what you said. Number three is accountability. I don't
Mm.
care who you are. I don't care what you do. If you're going for a big game, you got to surround yourself. Like the greats lean into accountability. I just noticed that. Like, and the average, they shy away from it,
So true,
you
man.
know?
Yeah.
And so you got to really structure your life around. Now, this month has been a really good month in my life. I got engaged, right? And so I'm really,
Congrats, my man.
thank you, dude. Amazing, beautiful woman that's super supportive, incredibly strong, feminine, like everything that I can ask for. Good with my kids. Our kids get along. But she moved in this month. I mean, this month was like get engaged, move in, like, and
Jeez, you went full
I
0 to
went full
100.
tilt, dude. Full tilt, full tilt. And what I noticed is I had fallen off some of my rituals, and therefore I was like, I have a basement. Like I think human beings in business and life need to have basements and ceilings. There's going to be certain days that I'm operating at 10. I can't be at a 10 every single day. That's
Mm.
unrealistic.
Agree. Yeah.
Just like, and anyone that says that they are is full of shit and has never gone for anything big. But I have a basement and it says, I'm not going to have a day that's below a 7. You know what I mean? And the way that I guarantee now this month, I think we're in July right now, whenever it is that this comes
Yep.
out. But because of everything that was going on, I fell off some of my rituals. And I noticed it wasn't that I fell off some of my rituals. I shirked some of my accountability partners, meaning I wasn't
Mm.
really in communication with them. So like about a week and a half ago, I said, guys, it's game on again. And I just went to all my accountability partners and I said, I know I sort of, was a slippery little devil here and I was a little slimy and I, was busy putting focus someplace else, but I'm back. I need more accountability. And so that's the third piece is that, if you are looking to accomplish something great in your life, you got to structure your life with people that are willing to go to the line with you and hold you accountable to what it is that you said you're going to do, even if it's uncomfortable for them and for you as well too. And I noticed that about every single person that I brought into our campfires to be able to interview is that they said one right after the other. I had a great structure of accountability of people in my life. I had a great structure of people that would hold me to what I said I'm going to do, et cetera. Right.
Dude,
So
that is so powerful. And we've noticed just in, our interviewing of, so many successful people like yourself is like the willingness to be vulnerable, to receive judgment, right? Most people are so scared to reveal themselves, rightfully so, me too, right? Nobody wants to be embarrassed in front of a bunch of people. But I notice a common trait amongst people who accomplish great things is they're okay looking dumb in
for
front of people. They're
sure.
okay. Even though inside they hate it. Like they hate it just as much as anybody else, but they're brave enough to just be embarrassed in front of everybody, to tell people this is where I messed up. And I see this also like in my faith aspect of life. It's like, oh man, the people with the closest walk with God and with Jesus and stuff like that are the people who reveal their fallings. Like they reveal, they're like, hey, I messed up here. And it's like because they have nothing to hide. And when you have nothing to hide, you just have such integrity with yourself. And that integrity breeds confidence, and that confidence allows you to execute. And it's like but it's so powerful what you're saying. And it's just, we want to run away from that. All the things that will actually bring us freedom which seem like they almost bring you a prison because there's accountability and there's discipline and all that stuff, but it brings you so much freedom.
It brings you freedom. Like I said earlier, discipline gives you options give you choices, and choices give you freedom. I want to say something about that whole failure aspect. I got a good buddy of mine. You guys would love to have him on this on your show. His name's Jimmy Rex, right? And I coached Jimmy. This guy was he was one of the most successful Mormon missionaries, right?
Oh, wow. Okay. He's dealt with rejection before going door to door.
Tell God door to door, man. And then he sold meat door to door, and then he became a real estate agent. And I met him while I was at Mike Ferry. I began coaching him. He was for sale by owner king, right?
Okay.
And then 2008 hit, and he was like, Pipes, man, I got 87 listings right now. It's just me. How do I manage this? And he shifted his model. Anyway, he's gone on. He went on to run a very small team of about 3 people that sold 500 plus homes a year consistently.
Jeez.
Bananas, right? And traveled and did all this. And now he runs a men's group, right? Like he runs a men's coaching group. It's where his passion is helping men. He'll, be men, and be able to actually, deal with some of the issues that men have today. And I really love him for
That's
that.
awesome.
I appreciate him. When I was starting my company, there's a group here. Something about Provo, Utah has a lot of like personal growth and development guys coming out of it. Sean Whalen and Lions Not Sheep and Jerry, and you got Danny Fleischman, right? Who's another very successful entrepreneur that has had multiple exits of, 10 figure, 10, 15, 10, 11 figure exits. Just an amazing guy. And so I said, what do those guys have that I don't? Right? I think it's normal. We compare ourselves, etc. And more importantly, what can I learn from them? And he said, Bill, here's the key thing is he goes, I've sat in these rooms of individuals that are worth 100, 200, 300, 400 million. They don't have it figured out. He goes, that's the joke. He goes, the joke is they don't have it figured out. The only difference is they're willing to act faster, fail, and keep moving forward.
Yes.
And he says, and most people are not. I mean, like to your point, we're afraid of how we're going to look. We're afraid of what other people are going to think. And that's the joke. They don't really think about you. You know what I mean? They're busy thinking about themselves ultimately. Right. And so I got the chance to spend some time with a guy by the name of Tim Grover. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably 3 different incidents in times with Tim, right? And for those of you that don't know who Tim is he was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan. He was the personal trainer for Dwayne Wade. He was the personal trainer for Kobe Bryant, right? I mean, the guy he's
like a legend, man. Like, he's
a total legend. And he wrote a book called Winning, and he wrote another book called Unstoppable, both of which are absolutely fantastic, right? And so I was sitting with him and I said, if you think back to the Chicago Bulls of the 1990s and the late 80s, Jordan got his ass kicked, right? Mm-hmm. If you really think about it, he got manhandled by the Detroit Pistons, right?
Yep.
And I think that's a heyday of basketball was the 1990s, man. Like with the Bulls.
Yeah, they could actually touch each other.
Yeah. That's why there's no comparison of Michael Jordan and LeBron James. You know what I mean? No.
My son and I go back and forth on LaFleur and Jordan, and it's just like no comparison. Anyway, I'm probably offending some people right there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So check this out. I was sitting with Tim and I said, hey, Tim, what is the big main difference between those individuals that you have spent time with that are absolutely incredible and those that are just normal? And he said, it's really simple. So here's what he said. He asked me, Pipes, what happens when you get knocked down? And I said, well, the obvious answer is you get right back up, right? Mm-hmm. And he goes, wrong. I said, what? He goes, when you get knocked down, the greats stay down for a little bit. Said, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, when Jordan would lose, he would stay down. And there's a great story of Kobe Bryant too, if you know this. Like Kobe Bryant got torched by Michael Jordan and when Jordan was playing for the Wizards, right? Yeah. Bryant didn't talk to his team for 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Now, not because he was pissed at them, but because he went into a hole and said, I'm going to figure this shit out.
Yeah, exactly. He asked why. You got that
He's like, why
depressed
do you think that this is
motivation.
what is it that's going on? What's taking place? What do I need to change? Now, he said, these are the Jordan questions. And I love these Jordan questions, right? There's 4 questions. And I think everyone, if you can, like, first of all, there is no such thing as failure. There is only feedback. And I think that's number one thing that you really need to look at. There's no such thing as failure. Only feedback exists, right, guys? That when you take that on and you recognize that the failure gives you the lessons that you need, then you want to put yourself in situations where you're not going to get it right. And if you're going to do something that's extraordinary and large, you're going to fail, period.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Constantly.
And it's such a critical component for people to truly understand is that. So Jordan had 4 questions, right? 4 questions ultimately that he went through. Right. And Grover shared this with me. Question number 1 was this. When things don't go the way that you want them to, first question is, how am I responsible? How is it that I am personally responsible for what took place? There's nobody else that is responsible for what occurs except for ourselves. Right, guys? Because we live in a world right now where we want to point the finger, point the blame, have other people take responsibility. That is the world that we're in, right, guys? Okay. And because of that, people don't grow. We don't grow as a society. We don't grow as it creates divisiveness between us. Like we just have those challenges. So we got to take the responsibility. Number 2 is this. The second piece is, what did I do to create it? What is it that I did that created this situation? Okay. Right. So now I'm looking at what are the actions and the steps that I ultimately took that's actually creating this. Number 3 was, right, what is the lesson that I'm meant to learn in this? Because every single one of those failures has a powerful lesson inside of it. And if you can get the lesson, then what it does is it makes valuable what it is that you went through, and you can make the adjustment. Then number 4 is this. Okay. Number 4 is, what are the changes that I need to make to guarantee that this never happens again?
Yeah. It's the heart of a champion right there.
Dude, there it is, right there,
Yep.
100%. And if you can do that, then you're going to look at the opportunities and the that goes sideways and the that goes wrong, and you're ultimately going to be able to move from. Because I had the chance to actually spend some time with a woman by the name of Karen Bernard, and Karen Bernardi is was during a time when nobody else was selling a boatload of real estate, was selling a couple hundred homes a year.
Get out of here. Jeez.
And I said, hey, Karen, you are so dang successful. And she goes, Bill, it's not that I'm successful. She goes, I just have learned how to move from failure to failure to failure faster and more elegantly than anybody else.
Yes.
Period. And she said something. She goes, and for me, success is a series of well-managed breakdowns. Period.
That is a
That
clip
is
right there.
gold right there.
Yeah.
That's so similar. Like Cody Sanchez, if she's
Love
the
Cody.
person that, she's telling, teaching people how to invest in Main Street America. But she said the best advice she was given, or one of the pieces of great advice from a mentor, very similar, was that he does things just faster than the competition. He executes faster because he's not scared of the failure. He's not overthinking it. And by the time you've thought about it, he's already
on to the next thing. I love Cody. She is an absolute and complete and total beast.
Yeah, she's an assassin, dude.
Like,
it is wild.
She is a total, complete assassin, guys.
Yeah. I mean, just absolute gold. I feel like, we're going to have you back. I want to bring you on to talk to our, all of our agents, right? And give special access to our agents because there's so much gold that you bring to the table because you have not only the expertise and skill, but the years and years of experience, right? So it's proven and tested, which is amazing. Can you talk a little bit about your event? Because I would love for people to attend your event if they can. I think there's going to be a lot of gold shared there, just like here.
So we have typically, and you know what, Luke and Josh, like for me, like I'm known as a sales trainer. You know what I mean? That's what I cut my teeth on. And I sort of felt like getting what is the word, typecast, right? Right? Like typecast. That was what was all that I did. We have 2 events that we lead every single year. One is called a Sales Power event. It's a script and 3-day scripts, like intense script training class. You know what I mean? And that script training class is intense because you're role playing in the class, etc. That is not this class.
Okay.
So like a lot of people have been and seen me speak, right? And really, this is what's called our L7 event. I said, I want to unpack completely and totally exactly what an agent can do, from their lead generation sources to their marketing that they need to do, to the scripts that they need to have, to the systems and processes, to how to hire their first assistant, how to scale by being able to actually um, uh, hire a buyer's agent, get that buyer's agent or a sales agent up in production. I wanted to just lay out the entire blueprint of 117,000 coaching sessions, over 60,000 hours of coaching and 30 years of experience, with 57 millionaires made. How did they do it? And so we have put together the entire complete blueprint, right? On what an agent needs to do step by step, right, over the course of the next 24 to 36 months to be able to actually break that $1 million mark. That's why it's
That's
called
awesome.
Level 7, right? And so it's a course, and it's an event in Los Angeles, September the 12th. We have our 7-figure mastermind that is for all the 7-figure earners to be able to attend, right? The 13th, the 14th, and the 15th is the main event. That main event is 3 days with us unpacking that, but putting people on stage that are experts in that one niche as well too. So we're going to have someone that's in there, because we believe in like 3 pillars of business, 3 to 4 pillars of business that everyone should have to be able to have that stability, right?
Yep.
Past clients in Sphere, open houses to be able to actually generate buyer leads and seller leads, to be able to actually have online presence. And then I call it dealer's choice. That could be a farming, it could be investors, whatever.
Yep.
Right. There's 21 different lead sources. So we're going to be putting people on stage. We're going to be teaching you what to do. We're going to give you the entire blueprint, but then someone's going to come on stage that has been and is still in the trenches, that is an expert at that, right? That we have personally coached, right? And bringing in a couple of other great speakers. We're bringing in Buck Wise, who's one of my buddies that was Grant Cardone's CMO. We're bringing in Michael Bernhoff, that is the key for influence right now in the world, was Tony Robbins guy. So we're just stacking it with as much value as we possibly can, to be able to say, here's the plan. Here's the people that are doing it. Ask them whatever question that you want. They're going to give you like boots on the ground insight, right? And then everyone will walk out of that, whether they're like new to the business, a year in the business, selling 20 homes, but basically it is a design to get you to 70 to 100 homes, because that's $1 million over the course of the next 24 to 36 months. Everyone can do it. Most people just don't have the belief, or they don't have the plan, or they don't have both. Right. So
that's awesome, man. I would encourage everybody to check that out. We obviously will put the show in the show notes. I just want to hit you with one more question. We can wrap up. I really appreciate all your time. I know we've gone longer here, but it was, you had to murder the dogs.
You had to kill a dog or two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So no, I love my
but I appreciate you coming on. I would love, especially because you left, right? Tom Ferry, it's a great partnership. You guys did a lot of stuff together. Then you went on, I think you went to John Cheplack after that, but I can't remember exactly. Right. What would you like looking back, right, in the transition in life, whether it's that or other things, right? Maybe in your family, it's like, what advice would you give yourself today that you would do differently? I'm just curious of all your experience in the coaching and then the transitions that you've made, like major ones, starting your own, like what advice would you go back and tell your younger self at any of those stages? What would you tell them?
Stop giving a shit about what other people think of you. Honestly, like that would be the number one thing, because I look back, that drove me for a little bit. But then it held me back for a little bit too. I believe that the universe is God, whatever you believe in, is absolutely working in my favor and not against me, right? And everything is happening in the time frame that it should. But if I look back, I think if I wasn't so concerned with that conversation we had on failure, and I wasn't so concerned about looking good, right? I probably would have taken some more risks sooner and earlier. I mean, guys, I'm 52 years old right now. You know what I mean? Like I am like, I feel like Colonel Sanders starting Kentucky Fried Chicken. Man. So it's bananas. And I'm grateful that I'm doing this at this time, because it was when it was meant to happen. Why? Because it's happening right now. However, I probably would have saved myself a lot of sleepless nights worried about what other people think if I really realized they weren't thinking about me at all.
Yeah.
And I learned that I had Wayne Dyer was one of my mentors before he passed away. And for those of you who don't know Wayne Dyer, he is arguably one of the great spiritualists and psychologists of all time. And he said, if you really knew how little people think about you, you wouldn't care what other people think about you, right? And
Yeah,
no,
it's
it's like,
so good,
and he said
man.
that to me, and it didn't really, it resonated. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll write that down. You know what I mean? And then now, a little bit more wisdom, a little bit more time underneath my belt and experience, I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's so right. You know what I mean? Because we play this game called Looking Good, where we want to look good to other people who aren't even thinking about us. They're busy thinking about themselves. So the whole punchline of the joke is you're busy looking good for people who don't even care, right?
Mm.
And it keeps you from taking the risks and doing the things and taking the actions that you need to, because all change is going to occur outside of your comfort zone. And if you're going to do that, there are going to be some times that you don't look the best. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I love seeing the person that's running on the side of the road that you can tell that they haven't had a commitment to health, right?
Yep.
But you see them, and I'm like, you know, like, and I was with some individuals, and this is a while back, and they started like, oh, look at that person running, and I'm like, hey, shut up, good for them. Like,
Yeah.
look at them. Like, they're taking responsibility for their lives, man. That's
Yep.
inspiring to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that right there is someone I would want to spend some time with. Right. And
Yeah,
so,
that's great, man.
you know, yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Bill, thank you so much for joining us. CoachPipes.com is the website, and we'll make sure to include links on how to sign up for that summit as well. You can go to staypaidpodcast.com for all of our show notes. If you like this episode and want to show your support, head on over to YouTube, youtube.com/Reminder Media. Subscribe to the channel and like this video. And the best way to show your support is simply to share this episode with somebody that you know. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com and follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Josh Dyke.
Guys, I'm Luke Acre. Man, it delivered, Coach Pipes. I knew you would, man. I was super excited for this. Yeah, really, really have loved your content over the years. You have taught me a lot over the years, so appreciate all that you've given to the industry and love seeing you crush it now with the new coaching thing. I hope everybody goes and checks out your stuff and goes to the event. I would encourage everybody listening to this. I mean, there's so many good takeaways from this, but I always like to give you at least an action item that I know you have to do. And I think one of the biggest action items for you is think about the G3 concept. Think about the grit, the grin, and the growth. Like right now, ask yourself, do you have the grit? Are you showing up doing what you know you need to do, even when you don't want to do it, at the highest level of enthusiasm for long periods of time? Like that is success in a nutshell. That is what will happen to, that's what you need to have happen to change your business. But very tactically, I want you to put on your calendar 2 hours of prospecting a day. I want you to put that on your calendar. Make the commitment to that. I promise you, if you do that, I mean, you heard it from Coach Pipes himself, conservatively 16 to maybe 32 or so deals a year. If you just do the fundamentals, that is one of the fundamentals. It's a contact sport. As you know, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.